Hey everybody, welcome. Today we're talking about Wade Wilson. Not this guy, this guy. We stand this guy. We can't stand this guy. Look, Wade Wilson is a convicted, multiple-time killer of women in the state of Florida. But for some reason, a lot of women on the internet think that he's dreamy, and they've been making thirst traps about him. They've been saying that he needs mental health help and a second chance. Don't give him the death penalty because the jury has already said that they are going for the death penalty with this. We're going to see later next month what the judge sentences him to. But in the meantime, we're going to talk to one of his actual victims that got away. So logically, the first thing that we need to discuss is who is Wade Wilson and what did he do? We just hit 1 million subs, y'all!
Killer Wade Wilson sitting emotionless in a Lee County courtroom this afternoon. The jury deliberating for 3 hours. His defense attorney did not call any witnesses and said Wilson is a whack job. But the murders of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz were not premeditated.
So the defense didn't even have any witnesses to call in this case because Wade was so obviously guilty. He even called his father after he strangled one woman to death and then ran one over 10 to 20 times. And he told his dad, I killed these broads. I ran her over so many times, her brains looked like spaghetti. There was nothing that they could really say or do to try to make a defense that he didn't do it. All they could do was try to argue premeditation to try to get him out of the death penalty, but did that work?
A jury now recommends the death penalty for murderer Wade Wilson.
Absolutely not. You're cooked, bro. And let's face it, any normal, rational human being like me, hopefully you, would not go into trial on a case that could literally get you the death penalty and start getting tattoos like this all over your face to make you look like as much of a clown as humanly possible. But it wasn't just those, man. He also got white supremacist tattoos because he thinks that he's in a white supremacist gang, but is he? The gang that he's claiming to be a part of is the Unforgiven prison gang. They are the only white supremacist prison gang in the state of Florida that is active. He has a history with them, and it's not of him being in good standing with them. Now that he's gone to jail and got a bunch of tattoos that literally clearly signify that he's in a white supremacist organization, and he's been convicted of killing 2 women, and we're about to talk about the sexual assault that he should have been charged with, and I'm gonna make sure them boys up there know about that too. How do you think that's gonna work? In fact, I actually know one dude who used to be in the Unforgiven, and he's not anymore, and I asked him to tell you in his own words.
Now, from what I see in this picture and what I've seen in other pictures is that he already has swastikas on him. He already has lightning bolts or cracker bolts on him. Now, he could have been a part of another organization or did this on his own in the streets. I don't know. I don't know his history. But what I do know is that if they catch wind of this in prison, of his charges and what he did to these women, they will immediately make him cover those tattoos up or they will literally cut them off of him. I know the standard of morality for people who are incarcerated isn't that high, but one bar that they do not accept is the harming of women and children, and I don't care what organization it is.
That was my friend Danny Collins dropping that inside knowledge, and I think it's really important to point out his growth and progress. He got out of prison, turned his entire life around, and today he works to try to break down those ideologies behind white supremacy so that other people don't end up in those types of organizations. And if y'all want to check out more from Danny, here's his TikTok. I'll leave a link down in the description. Now, Wade Wilson has already had a run-in with the Unforgiven a few years ago when he was in prison for domestic violence, and he had the cracker bolts tattooed on his neck, and he was trying to pretend that he was one of them until they found him in a cell having sex with another dude, and they beat him so bloody that he had to go spend days in the infirmary. As it turns out, white supremacists are not LGBTQ friendly. Now that you have an idea of who Wade Wilson is and a little bit of his background, we're going to be talking about this. So he faced a case where the cops completely and totally fumbled the ball, seemingly intentionally. It was for basically an attempted murder. There was a rape. There were all sorts of charges that were involved. There was loads of evidence. There was DNA confirming that it was him. The witness came forward and has been fighting to get charges put against him since 2019. And the Palm Beach police didn't do a single thing about it. Luckily, this woman was able to escape that situation with her life, and she's here to tell you about it. We're about to interview her, but before we do that, I want to just give a huge shout out to Jumpsuit Pablo for connecting me with her, and I also really want to thank Bunnie XO because she's working with Bunnie XO on a huge Netflix thing about Wade Wilson. So I hit up Bunnie to make sure that doing this interview and dropping it before her Netflix special came out wasn't like stepping on any toes, and Bunnie, being the amazing person that she is, she said, run it, homie, it's all good. And more than anything, I really want to thank Kelly for being brave enough to come out here and share her story of what happened to her with all of us. So y'all know what time it is. Let's go! All right, Kelly, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate your time, and I really am excited to be able to give you an opportunity to tell your side and your experience with Wade Wilson.
Thank you.
So, you and Wade actually dated for how long?
Like 6 or 7 months, 2018 and 2019.
Okay, and what was your experience with Wade?
In the beginning, it was good and normal. My friends and family liked him at first. He was super sweet, but he did not have a job, and that was a big red flag initially. And towards the end of the relationship, he started doing drugs, and things went very downhill from there.
So would you say that he like kind of changed as he progressed with his addiction, or do you think that he was just kind of trying to hide who he really was, and then the drugs maybe let it come out some more?
He wasn't on any mental health meds, and when I first met him, he was fine, but I think he might have been hiding how he really is to get to me, because he was hot, and I was like, oh my gosh, this tall 6'4" man with dimples. But yeah, eventually he stopped hiding the drugs, and it got really bad. Like, the paranoia was horrible, and the aggressiveness.
Do you know what drugs he was doing?
It started out with cocaine. I don't know anything about drugs, so I was like, sure, cocaine. And then I started finding like empty pens and Brillo pads, and I actually had to post it on Reddit and be like, what is this? And they were like, crack. He's doing crack. And I was like, I feel like a little, like, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'm just a little like Catholic schoolgirl. So I knew he did crack, and then I also believe he tried meth a few times.
Okay. I mean, like, as somebody who's a recovery professional and also has been on the other side of that fence, those are drugs that tend to induce psychosis in a lot of people, especially if there's pre-existing mental health issues. Would you say that he had gotten abusive with you?
Not physically up until the end. Verbally and mentally for sure. He like secluded me from my friends and family. We got in a lot of verbal fights. The only time he got semi-physical is when I took his backpack and hid in the bathroom because I wanted to see if he was doing drugs, and he kicked my door in. I ended up punching him. I also threw a coffee table at him. He never hit me up until the night that all of this stuff happened. So I just thought it was all verbal.
So it was sort of a progressive thing?
Mm-hmm.
And was that the only time that it ever got to physical abuse with him?
Yep, right at the end.
And what did he do in that situation?
Initially it started off that he was agreeing to go to rehab, and we drove down to Boynton Beach to take him to a rehab, and he chickened out. And we sat in the park, and he made a few phone calls. And agreed to go to a rehab. We had just had to find one. His parents had cut him off. He didn't have insurance anymore. And then, like, randomly, he was like, oh, I found a place in the Keys, which is like 3 hours from where I lived. And I was like, great, I cannot get you down there. That's really far. So it just, he took my phone, and we were just driving around. I didn't have any gas. I didn't have any money. I didn't get paid till later, like in the week. And he tried to pawn my laptop. He tried to sell a bunch of my other stuff. Pawn shops didn't want it. They were like, no, dude, this is cracked, like whatever. I got out of the car because we had gotten in a verbal argument, and my parents only lived like a mile from where we were. So I was just going to walk to their house. No phone. I don't care. I'm like, I'm going to go walk to my parents' house. You can take my car to the Keys. I don't care. My mom called because this was the day before my birthday. So she was calling me and was like, probably gonna wish me a happy birthday. He told me to get back in the car and to buckle my seatbelt, so I did. And that's when he started strangling me. Um, I almost blacked out twice. And when I read that that's how he killed those girls, I don't know why he didn't do it to me. Um, but yeah, he strangled me. He bit my face. I had a huge bruise on my face. He bit my ear. Um, and then, sorry, my dog just brought up something. Um, and then I don't know where he got a pocket knife, but he pulled a pocket knife out and he pushed me. I'm 5'9", and he pushed me onto the floorboard of my car. I do not fit in that small area. So he pushed me onto the floorboard and used the pocket knife to cut my shirt and my sports bra off and used it and tied it around my hands and my face and was like punching me until I got down completely. And so I just like stayed down there on the floorboard for probably an hour while he drove around trying to figure out how to get money. He turned off the AC in the car. I was hot, I was sweating, I was crying because I was like, this, like, what the hell? I thought this person loved me. And eventually, can you please go away? Eventually, it got dark. He told me that he could either tie me to a tree and leave me there and take my car, or, excuse me, he could tie me up in the back of my car. And I was like, at first, I thought the tree sounds great. Like, leave me alone. And he was like, well, yeah, if I do that, I'm going to knock you out. Like, I'm going to hit you until you pass out. And I was like, oh, never mind. So I opted to be tied up in the back of the car, I guess. So I didn't know where we were. It was dark. I knew we went over some railroad tracks, and I grew up in Lake Worth area, so I knew, can you stop? Goodness. That we were near a park. So he told me to get out of the car and get in the back seat, but don't look at where I am. So when I got in the back, he pulled my shorts off and sexually assaulted me a couple times, and then came around the other side and used all of the laundry that I had in my car to tie my arms and legs and cover my mouth and eyes. He used some trash bags to tie my arms and legs together, so like the circulation was being cut off really bad. He slammed the door on the other side, which ended up breaking my foot. I just remember screaming like from a scary movie because it hurt so bad. And then he proceeded to cover me with dirty laundry and go to McDonald's, got a drink, got some food, sold my phone to some guy for $50. And I wanted so bad to like bang on the window, but I figured he would probably kill me if I did that. All I could think about was that my birthday was the next day and my friends and family aren't going to know what happened to me and they're not going to find me. I'm going to die. And this is how it's going to end. After a couple hours, I was annoying enough in crying because the pain in my hands and feet was so bad that he undid my feet, and then eventually undid my hands and allowed me to lay the other direction so my head was on the passenger side. And we pulled over. I think he got gas or something, and he took the gag out of my mouth, and that's when he realized that he had busted my lip open and I had a bloody nose, and he started crying and freaking out, and he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, like I can't believe I did that to you. So I was just trying to like placate him, and I was like, it's okay, like, we got an argument, it's fine. So he let me lay on the seat. I wasn't bound anymore. And he let me put some clothes on. And I knew we were in the Keys. I could smell the salt water. I had lived down there before. I knew where we were. And he said that he was meeting up with somebody. So I convinced him to let me sit in the front seat because I said, if I'm tied up in the back of the car, it's not going to look very good when we go meet up with somebody. So he let me sit in the front. The girl made eye contact with me. She knew something was wrong. I was covered in blood. Like, there's no way that she didn't. But when we got to where we were going, he got out of the car and grabbed his backpack and left with a girl and handed me my car keys. And I drove home 3 hours going like 120 miles an hour. And I did not get pulled over somehow. Like, I don't know how. And everyone's like, why didn't you stop and ask for help? And I'm like, I thought, Florida is full of drug addicts. If I would have stopped and like gone into a gas station, like no shoes, half naked, covered in blood, people would have been like, oh, get out of our store. Like, they probably wouldn't have helped me.
Florida's a different universe. Most people don't understand what it's like in Florida.
Yeah. They would have been like, oh, she's a drug addict. Don't let her in here. So I drove home. I went to my parents' house and they called the police.
So you tried to press charges against him? Did that get anywhere?
So they did a sexual assault kit. They did a DNA test under my fingernails, which I don't remember, but I just got all of this back recently to like look at everything. They took 18 photos and they did a body mapping thing, which I can email you if you want to use it. And it showed that I had bite marks on my face, handprints around my neck, ligature marks on my arms and legs. The DNA test came back positive for him in the sexual assault kit and under my fingernails. And the police came, they did the whole story, they checked my car, they found the knife and all of the stuff that he used to tie me up with, and the cut shirt and the bloody underwear, everything. And I don't remember a lot of that, but I know that I was emailing him, like, why did you do this? Like, just tell me, like, why you did this to me. And I was trying to get him to come back to my area so that the cops could arrest him, and they wouldn't. Eventually he came back and they did a DNA test. They spoke with him. He told them that I was into that kind of thing, and, it was all consensual and nothing like that happened. And I was just mad that he was running off with another girl. And eventually the cop in charge, Detective Potter, told me that if I didn't leave him, Detective Potter, alone, that he was going to block my phone number. And I was like, you're supposed to be helping me. Like, did the DNA test come back? Whatever. He said, yeah, it came back. It's inconclusive. And then he closed the case. And then the next day he tried to get me on stalking charges against Wade.
Wow.
So I just found out recently, like a week ago, that the DNA test was not inconclusive. It came back positive for him. So I opened up an internal investigation against Detective Potter, and they found out that he was incompetent in what he did. They asked him, like, why would you open a stalking charge against her when you literally just closed her case? And he was like, I don't know. And because I told her to stop talking to him, and she wouldn't. And they were like, well, why didn't you, arrest or detain him for relationship abuse? And he was like, well, they've only been together for a couple months. And they were like, what? That doesn't matter. And they said, well, what about battery? And he's like, well, I don't know if she did it to herself. And they're like, are you serious? Like, literally in the report, he says, I don't know if she did it to herself. And he got in trouble for closing the case before the DNA even came back. He wrote in his log that it was like, I don't remember the wording, but exceptionally closed or whatever. Like, there's nothing. It's closed. It's perfect. So he got suspended for 120 hours.
120 hours?
Yeah. And he got demoted to road patrol, but that's it.
Wow. So they had him in a smoking gun case that they just ignored. Like, you had all of the elements. You had witness, you had DNA evidence, you had like miles of evidence against him, like physical evidence, and a witness who wanted to proceed, the victim, firsthand testimony, and they threw it away. And not only did you not get justice for what had been done to you, now there's women that are dead.
Yep.
And who knows what else damage he's done in the meantime. They never even arrested him for this?
No, they did not even detain him. They let him come in, do a DNA test. He declined to do essentially a lie detector test. And they were like, okay, bye.
So this is, can we be very direct here? This is Detective Potter. He's not a detective anymore, correct?
Correct.
So he's Patrolman Potter with what police department?
PBSO, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office.
So if anybody doesn't like the way that this man conducted himself, y'all know he's Patrolman Potter. And you can definitely get a hold of the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office and let them know, how you feel about that. Kelly, thank you for going through that. I know that that's really, really hard. As a survivor myself, it's really brave that you were willing to relive that with us. And thank you so much for using your voice, because there's so many women out there who have this weird obsession with Wade. And I really hope that they hear this and they see him in a bit of a different light. I also wanted to ask you now, he was locked up. Was it while you guys were together that he went to jail?
He's been in and out of jail a couple times since we were together. But this last time was after everything.
Okay. And is this when he got beat up?
No, he got beat up before I met him.
Oh, okay. And he got beat up because of a tattoo? The SS bolts that he has tattooed?
Having a tattoo without permission of the gang that he claimed to be affiliated with, and then also sleeping with a guy.
In jail?
Yes.
Okay, so they caught him with another dude in the county jail. And just to be clear about this, this is the Unforgiven prison gang in the state of Florida. They are a white supremacist gang that Wade Wilson has repeatedly tried to pretend that he is a part of, which they don't allow you to get those types of tattoos. For those of you that don't know, if you want to be in a white supremacist organization and you want tattoos like SS bolts and swastikas, you have to earn that. And the way that you earn that is generally in most gangs by doing like assaults, violent assaults against minorities, or doing work for the organization. So they take it very seriously when you don't earn those tattoos. Also, they are very homophobic. So anyone in their organization caught doing any type of sexual stuff with another man, that is an absolute violation. And how bad did they beat him up?
They put him in the infirmary for a few days.
Damn. Okay. Is that why he has that? Doesn't he have a scar under his eye?
Yep.
Is that what that's from? Did they like damage his orbital?
They might have broken it. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, he definitely was in there for a little bit.
Okay. So what do you think about the fact that he went into jail on this last one? He didn't have all those face tattoos, did he?
No, not at all.
So he got those while he's on trial, a jury trial for murdering multiple women. He can't be so cooked that he doesn't realize that the death penalty is 100% on the table for this. This is the state of Florida, y'all. The state of Florida don't fuck around when it comes to these types of things. He has to know that he's potentially facing the death penalty. And he goes in there and gets a bunch of like scribbly ass face tattoos and some white supremacist shit on his face. What do you think is going on in his mind with that?
I think that he didn't think he was going to win. So like, what's the point? I think he knew he wasn't going to get away with this.
He's just on smoke him if you got him mode?
I guess. He's probably finding ways to do drugs in there also, but...
I would assume. I know that he's been talking to other women. I guess he's got actually quite a few women that are messaging him, and I guess he's asking women to bring in his habit in their prison purse. Is that how it was worded?
Yeah.
The old prison purse.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. I wouldn't imagine that he has contact visits. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
I don't think so. He's offered to get several women pregnant, and I'm like, this is not one of those states that we can do that here.
Yeah, no, there's no conjugal. And in county jail, at least, there's no contact visits in the state of Florida. It's either through video or through plexiglass. So it's not like you can pull something out of one of your orifices and like pass it off slyly to the person. So dude just seems pretty, he must be just cooked, just absolutely cooked. I know that my friend Jumpsuit Pablo has also talked to a person who was in a cell next to him and got the matching Stitches face tattoo. Man, Florida is a wild place. It's just a wild place. So I wanted to talk also about the project that you're working on with Bunnie.
Yeah. She reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and we were trying to figure out if myself and some of the other victims and the family of the victims that died could do either a podcast or something. But I think we're going to do like a docu-series, like a 3-part thing. So as far as I know, she got the green light for us to start doing something like that with all the victims. And Wade eventually will be involved, but I think we're going to wait till we can all get nice things to say to him first.
Excellent. Yeah, I know. I've been talking to her, and she said that she's like been trying to navigate with him, but that trying to get him to talk like sensibly, like a sane human being about anything is almost impossible. So she's been trying to navigate that. Let me ask you a question. Did you see the whole drama on TikTok where she mentioned that she had called the jail to try to get an interview with him? And then people attacked her. Did you feel personally offended by the fact that she was trying to get an interview with Wade?
Not at all. I think people read it wrong. They said she was laughing and all this other stuff. It didn't look like she was to me. It looked like she was just, like, how cool would that be if we could talk to this guy? And I don't know. I mean, I'm into true crime stuff, so I understand from her side of things, wanting to talk to the murderer. He's an idiot, so he's never going to talk or admit it. But I mean, I didn't have any issue with it.
Cool. I wanted to ask you that because I figured that you probably didn't if you're working on a 3-part thing with her. And I think that's pretty amazing. Like, all these people are so upset, and this dude is you are a personal victim of this dude, and you understood the assignment and what she was trying to do. So I think it's just kind of wild how personally invested people get in hurting their own feelings about shit on the internet. Like, he had already been interviewed by the news through the, through the screen while he's in there, and there were, leaked clips all over TikTok about it. I don't understand why people got upset. The true crime genre is huge, and before they were, thirst trapping Wade Wilson, last year it was people thirst trapping Jeffrey Dahmer, which I can't call it. I can't call it at all whatsoever, but
I don't know. It's wild.
So, Kelly, what are you doing these days? Is there anything that you'd like to plug?
I've been told that I should write a book, which I'm trying to navigate that. But my main thing is trying to get a lawyer and go after the police department. I want so badly to go after them for what happened because I think all of this could have been prevented.
Please hold them accountable. Do you have a good attorney?
No, I don't. I'm trying to find one.
We're going to talk afterwards. I think I could get you laced up with a really, really good attorney.
Awesome.
And he's based out of Florida, and I think he would very much enjoy being able to go after cops for not doing their job. He's that type of dude. So
yeah.
I really appreciate your time, Kelly. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, and I wish you the absolute best. I'm really excited to see what you do with Bunnie, and just thank you.
Thank you.